Carter Walton had everything lined up perfectly. After years of heartbreak, near misses, and watching from the sidelines, he was finally engaged to Hope Logan, a woman he'd admired, respected, and loved with unwavering patience. Their engagement had been formalized in front of family and close friends, and he had even asked Ridge Forrester to stand beside him as best man. A public signal of his faith in this union and his connection to the family dynasty. Everything about the upcoming ceremony was carefully crafted, understated elegance, the perfect balance between tradition and personal flair, a Forrester-level spectacle of love and stability. But beneath the polished exterior, cracks were beginning to form. Carter felt, but refused to acknowledge. At least, not out loud. Hope had been radiant during their engagement announcement, smiling, composed, saying all the right things. But Carter knew her too well not to notice the subtle shifts, the pauses between sentences, the moments she seemed distracted, the way her eyes wandered when Liam Spencer entered the room. Carter reassured himself again and again Liam had his chance, and he blew it. This was Hope's fresh start. With him. The man who never betrayed her, who never lied, who waited. Then the kiss happened. It wasn't planned. It wasn't talked about beforehand. It was raw, reckless, and completely out of sync with Hope's engagement. It happened in a quiet corridor backstage at Forrester Creations after a late-night design review. Hope had been under stress with the preparations for the public engagement celebration. Liam, there for co-parenting duties and press coordination, offered to help. A quiet conversation turned personal. Memories surfaced. The what-ifs started to swirl. And then, without warning, Liam kissed her. It wasn't brief. It wasn't harmless. It cracked something open. Hope didn't pull away immediately. She let it happen, if only for a moment. But it was a moment long enough to burn through every rational decision she had made since saying yes to Carter. Afterward, she didn't speak. She left the building, drove home, and sat in her room for hours in silence. The next morning, Liam showed up at her door. "I shouldn't have done that," he said, "but I don't regret it. Because I love you." "I never stopped," Hope didn't reply. "I know you're trying to move on. I know Carter is everything you think you need. But he's not me. And no matter how hard you try, you can't rewrite history. You love me too." She closed the door, but Liam's words echoed for days. Meanwhile, Carter carried on, smiling through meetings, making arrangements, finalizing the public announcement event, securing the press. But inside, he felt the shift. Hope's energy had changed. She didn't talk about the engagement the same way. Her tone when discussing the future was vague, cautious. She was distracted. And worst of all, she was quiet when Liam's name came up. Still, Carter played the gentleman, the patient fiancé, the man who wouldn't pressure her. But the image he worked so hard to project was in direct contrast with the storm building inside him. He started to stay late at the office, rereading old messages, replaying conversations in his head. He considered confronting Liam but stopped himself. That would be too obvious, too desperate. Instead, he doubled down on the wedding plans. The more perfect everything looked on the outside, the harder it would be for Hope to walk away right. The date for the public engagement party arrived. A grand event at the Forrester estate. Paparazzi were positioned outside the gates. Photographers and journalists filled the venue. Designers, celebrities, and industry moguls mingled. Everything was ready. Except Hope. She stood upstairs in her private room, fully dressed, makeup done, hair styled, holding the engagement ring in her palm. Not wearing it, just holding it. Brooke knocked on the door. "They're ready," she said gently. Hope looked up. "I don't think I can do this." Brooke paused. "Because of Carter. Or because of Liam?" Hope didn't answer. "You have to choose," Brooke said. "And you have to live with what that means." Downstairs, Rich glanced at his watch. Carter stood by the entry arch, smiling, charming as ever, but his eyes kept darting toward the stairs. Then the music cued. But Hope didn't calm down. Whispers began to ripple through the room. Finally, Hope appeared at the top of the staircase. Everyone turned. Flashbulbs lit the room. The press leaned forward until he saw her hand. No ring. Hope descended slowly, step by step, all eyes on her. She reached Carter, took a breath, and spoke quietly but not quietly enough to avoid being overheard by the front row of reporters. I can't go through with this. Carter's face didn't move, but his anxious eyes shattered. I'm sorry, she continued. I tried. I wanted to make this work. You're incredible. But my heart is still somewhere else. He blinked once, twice. Liam, a statement, not a question. Hope nodded. Whispers turned into gasps. The press surged forward. Brooke stepped in, motioning security. Rich grabbed Carter's arm gently. But Carter didn't speak. He turned, walked straight out of the venue, past the cameras, past the guests, into the night. The celebration turned into chaos. The official statement was crafted within the hour. Hope Logan and Carter Walton have mutually agreed to postpone their engagement in order to focus on personal clarity. But everyone knew the truth. Liam arrived later. He didn't gloat. He didn't smile. He found Hope in the back room and simply held her hand. You chose, he said. Hope nodded. But I don't want to make the same mistakes again, she said. We don't pick up where we left off. We start from the beginning. Liam nodded. Then let's start back at his apartment. Carter sat in the dark. No calls, no movement, just silence. The gentleman image had crumbled, not in public but inside him. He had played fair, played patient, and still lost. Again. But this time, something hardened in him. Because Carter had built everything on the idea that being the better man would win. Now, he wasn't so sure. And in the world of the Forresters, love may dominate the headlines. But revenge, that always finds its way back to the spotlight. Hope Logan stood at a breaking point caught in a silent war between heart, history, and the pressure of moving forward when she hadn't even finished looking back. The days leading up to her engagement party with Carter Walton should have been joyful, grounded in certainty and love. But instead, Hope felt trapped in a storm she had no map for. The kiss with Liam, unexpected yet undeniable, had shaken her. Not because it was impulsive, but because it felt right in a way she didn't want to admit. She hadn't spoken of it to anyone. Not to Brooke, not to Carter. But the weight of pretending was suffocating. So she drove across town, past the estate, past the whispers, past her own doubts straight to the one person she never expected to confide in. Deacon Sharp, her father. Deacon had seen enough wreckage in his life to recognize the signs, her eyes darting, her voice cautious, the way she stood at his door like a woman already halfway gone from the life she was living. I kissed Liam, she said. Deacon didn't flinch. He didn't gasp or judge. He just nodded, motioned her inside, poured 2 cups of black coffee, and let her speak. I didn't plan it, Hope continued. But it happened. And it wasn't meaningless. That's what scares me. Deacon leaned back, arms crossed. And Carter, he's everything I should want, Hope said, voice shaking. He's stable, loyal. He's never once hurt me. But when Liam kissed me, it was like my heart remembered something I didn't even know I'd forgotten. Deacon stayed silent for a long moment, then said, the worst thing you can do, Hope, is try to outrun what you feel. You don't pick a man like you're checking a box. You don't marry one just to avoid another. I don't want to hurt Carter, she whispered. Then be honest with him, Deacon said. Because dragging this out will hurt more than the truth ever could. Hope left without another word. Back across town, Liam Spencer was running out of time. Every day, he watched Hope drift further toward Carter toward a future that didn't include him. And he couldn't stand by any longer. He had failed before. He had betrayed trust, fractured the family they tried so hard to build. But this time, he wasn't operating from ego. This wasn't about jealousy. This was about knowing deep in his soul that Hope still loved him. So he went for it. A proposal. No flowers. No fancy dinners. Just raw desperation wrapped in hope. He showed up at Hope's office the morning before her public engagement party and dropped to one knee before she could even stand up. "Hope," he said, "I'm not going to pretend I haven't made mistakes, but what I feel for you is real. You know it. We both do. If you marry Carter, you're choosing safety. But if you choose me, you're choosing love. Messy, painful, honest love. So I'm asking Gandhi last time. Marry me." Hope didn't answer. She stared at him. Her hand trembled at her side. Her breath caught. Then she turned away. Liam stood slowly. "If you walk away now, I'll let you go. But I need you to know I'll never stop loving you." He left her there, alone in her silence. That night, Hope sat on her bed, surrounded by the gown, the flowers, the official statement drafts for the press, the ring from Carter, and the one Liam had quietly slipped into her hand before leaving. She stared at both. Then she wrote. It wasn't a long letter, but it was the hardest thing she had ever written. She placed it on Carter's nightstand, sealed inside an envelope with no name. Then she left. The sun rose over the Forrester estate. Guests arrived, smiling, unaware. Ridge stood tall, scanning the horizon. Carter, sharp in his custom tuxedo, waited by the floral arch, smiling but internally unraveling. He hadn't seen Hope since yesterday. She hadn't answered her phone. Brooke was pacing. Steffi was whispering to Ridge. No one knew where she was. Finally, Ridge found the envelope. Carter read the letter. Then everything stopped. Guests were escorted out quietly. The official statement released to the press. Due to unforeseen personal circumstances, the engagement ceremony for Hope Logan and Carter Walton has been canceled. Inside the letter, Hope had written, "Carter, you deserve a love that is whole. A love that doesn't pause at the altar. A love that doesn't flinch at a kiss from another man. I wanted so badly to be that person for you. I thought if I just kept walking toward you, the rest would fall into place. But a part of me never stopped looking back. And that's not fair to you. I didn't write this to humiliate you or to escape. I wrote this because you deserve the truth. I can't marry you because my heart still belongs to someone else. And if I stayed silent, if I stood next to you and smiled for the cameras, we'd both be living a lie. You are one of the kindest men I've ever known. And I'm sorry I couldn't be the woman you needed. I hope one day you'll forgive me." Hope Carter didn't cry. He didn't lash out. He stood there, holding the letter, nodding slowly. Later that evening, Hope found Liam waiting outside her house. No words were exchanged. She walked up to him, placed the unopened ring box in his hand, and said, "Not yet, but someday. When it's not a reaction. When it's a choice." He nodded, understanding. They didn't kiss. They didn't promise. But they stood together. And for the first time in months, Hope felt free, not because she ran from a man, but because she finally stopped running from herself.